Hey everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, I just got done with Superman and Lois Season 3, Episode 2, titled Uncontrollable Forces. Guys, what an episode. This episode was definitely better than the first episode. I really kind of am like, okay, like, I'm really, like, invested this season. Because the first episode, I was like, okay, this definitely wasn't as strong as a start to the season as I would have hoped. The CGI, like I said, was iffy in the first episode of Season 3, but kind of like, I am all in now, knowing on what they did in this episode, which I was really upset, because I was like, I was upset at what they did in this episode, which I was concerned about. I was kind of concerned about in my review of episode 1 last week. I was worried that they were going to go this route, but I was like, no way they're going to go this route. Because I was like, it's in the title. I was like, there's no way they would take this person out or anything maybe would happen to this person. I was like, I can't imagine anything would happen because, like, you know, it is in the title. I was like, and I want to kind of elaborate. I'm going to wait until, like, say what I'm talking about into like, till the end of the video, because that was a pretty big moment, which I was like, holy shit. I can't believe I got my, like, theory right. I was worried about this, and it was a theory I did not want to happen, but it's happening. And I'm like, fully invested for the rest of this season now, because I'm like, oh my god, are they actually gonna, like, do what I think they're gonna do? I was like, I can't imagine they will, but, like, we definitely gotta talk about it, because it was like a jaw dropping. I was punching the ceiling, like, what the frick? I can't believe this. There's no way they just did this. So all in all, I've really enjoyed this episode, and the mainly why I really enjoyed this episode is that, you know, it's really like a fun episode for, you know, Jordan, Jonathan, and Natalie and Sarah. I really enjoyed what they were doing in this episode, giving them, like, you know, it kind of felt like they were just, like, being teenagers in this episode. I really enjoyed it because a lot of the times it feels like, you know, it doesn't feel like they are, like, in a way, being teenagers, if that makes any sense. And I feel like this episode about them going to a party and them not being able, like, them being off of school, I want to say it probably had something to do with the stuff that Clark and Lana found in the school walls. I can't remember if it was, like, asbestos or something. I honestly can't even remember. But definitely, like, there's stuff in the walls of Smallville High right now, so I'm kind of wondering myself, like, that's probably why they are off of school, and Jonathan or Jordan are kind of calling it, like, spring break. In a way, I like, even though, you know, Clark and Lois are like, it's not spring break, you know, the teacher, like, wanted you to leave school because, or wanted you guys to leave school because of stuff that was going on. I can't remember if, it made it sound like, I thought it was a project that the one teacher said, but I can imagine it's because of what they found in the walls of the schools, that it's bad for the students to be there. So I'm going to think that's what it is. Definitely confirm to me or not if that's what ended up happening or not. But I really enjoyed it is that, you know, Natalie, or I guess Sarah's trying to be, like, Natalie's kind of, like, you know, wing woman, and kind of, like, you know, wanting Natalie to kind of, like, find a boyfriend, and kind of Natalie was interested in this one Trevor dude. I can't remember if, like, maybe we got introduced to that dude in last season, but, like, she's kind of interested in this one dude. Sarah looks him up, pretty much, you know, says, oh, we're, like, he's throwing a party out in Metropolis, and she's like, I can't go to Metropolis. And then when Sarah ends up finding out what, like, Natalie is doing on her computer, like, Natalie's like, I guess, like, Sarah's like, okay, like, put down, like, stop doing homework or whatever, stop doing whatever, we're gonna go to Metropolis. She's like, I'm not doing homework, I'm actually doing, you know, a project for the DOD. And I was like, saying to myself, like, nah, girl, you gotta stop doing that, a project for the DOD, and you gotta go live your life. You gotta be a teenager. Kind of like how John Henry wanted Natalie to initially wanted her to be a teenager and not have to worry about the DOD or worry about fighting aliens. I love how kind of, like, Natalie is going to a party and is kind of, you know, and we get to see, like, Natalie and Sarah be close, because we saw that last season, kind of the start of them being close and becoming friends. And I loved how we got the moment to actually, like, you know, remember, like, oh shit, yeah, they became friends last season. We actually get to see that this, like, it's a really, like, see the connection that they have in this friendship. I really enjoyed that. So, like, and also I really enjoyed, like, kind of, like, you know, how, like, you know, that is, you know, being a teenager, like what John Henry wanted. Because when Natalie goes to tell John, her father, like, yo, I'm gonna go to a party, he's like, I'm assuming there will be boys there, I'm assuming there will be drinking there. And she's like, yeah, but Sarah won't be drinking. And she's like, oh, but, like, he said something about, oh, like, but all lead, is she like prone to temptation, or is she against temptation, or he said something like that. And it's just like, she's like, Dad, you wanted me to have a normal life, you wanted me to, like, do things, and this is what being a normal teenager looks like, is going to a party. And I enjoyed that, the aspect of, like, that's what, like, is kind of like Natalie being a teenager, being a kid. I liked that aspect. On top of, I liked also that Sarah wanted to kind of avoid the awkward, like conversations that she's had with Jordan, so she used this opportunity like, oh, I need like a girls night out, we're gonna go to this party, boys free, no Jonathan, no Jordan. But I also liked how on his side of things, on Jordan's side of things, is that Jonathan, wants Jordan to kind of move on from Sarah, saying, you need to, like, I can't let you pine in your room, because you wanting to be with Sarah and all that, like, you need to move on from Sarah, and you need to, like, there's girls at this party. And he's like, oh, like, and Jordan's like, oh, we can't all be like you, like how you're friends with your ex-girlfriend or whatever. And I pretty much can't, I can't remember what, I guess, I think her name is Eliza, Jonathan's ex-girlfriend from Metropolis, invited Jonathan to this party and didn't invite Jordan, which we end up finding out when they get there. And it's like Jonathan wants Jordan to go to kind of like get his mind off of Sarah and help him find like a girlfriend. And I liked that because I kept saying to myself, like, bro, if Sarah still doesn't want to date you after she found out that's the reason why you kind of couldn't spend a lot of time with her, girl's not worth it. Go find a girlfriend, my guy. Find someone that actually wants to be with you. Like, go for it. So I was like, Jordan, you go to a party, meet girls. Don't keep pining for Sarah if she wants nothing to do with you, dude. Like, so I was happy Jonathan was getting Jordan out of the house to get him to go to a party. So that was just all fun, them at the party, and seeing the moment where, like, Sarah ends up finding out that Jordan was at the party was funny too, because in his mind he was going there to have fun, and it was kind of like awkward, but it was kind of like, it was at the fact of she was seeing that he was like going to a party and wasn't just gonna like wait, and it kind of like was the buffer that they needed, where like, oh, like he wasn't gonna mope, and she's seeing that he's doing other things and is like and isn't like worrying nonstop about like, are they going to be together. So I feel like from her perspective it was like nice for her to see him kind of out partying, and like, but it was kind of like in a way he was like, I didn't follow you here, I'm here with Jonathan and stuff like that. And I was like, you don't need to explain anything, bro. Like, you're having a fun time, you're partying, you're being a teenager, as expected. But I just loved how like that Sarah was being Natalie's kind of like wing girl, and was trying to like help Natalie like get together with that Trevor dude, but the Trevor dude was already with somebody else. And she ended up I guess Sarah ended up catching this one dude looking at Natalie, and apparently the one dude that is actually looking at Natalie is the dude that's from All American, the dude that plays Chris in All American, and also plays Damien, I guess young Damien, in Creed 3. I actually want to look up his name real quick because he's been killing it lately. Actually, let me check this out real quick. It should pop up like right away here in the cast list of All American. Yeah, his name is Spence Moore. I think his name is Spence Moore. Yeah, Spence Moore has been killing it, and like I said, and he's playing this this character of, his name is I guess Mateo, and Mateo and Natalie are kicking it off, and I was really happy for Natalie, and I was like happy to see, I guess, Spence Moore in another CW show. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, he's probably going to be a series regular. Now the fact that he's kind of going to be like dating Natalie, because they kicked it off to the point where like Natalie, because I loved it because where Mateo's like, oh, I bet you turned down all the dudes or whatever, and she's like, I wouldn't turn down all dudes, and that was kind of like the green light for him to ask her out. And I was like, okay, but like, of course he didn't get the opportunity to do that, same as how he didn't get the opportunity because he goes to Metropolis High, and when she had her first day of school at Metropolis High, and it didn't last because she thought if she went to Metropolis High, like she would be able to run into her old friends Natalie, because there's while Natalie had friends in Metropolis High on her Earth, she expected that her friends she would be able to make friends here on this Earth, the same friends, but it didn't last, as and then she ended up going to Smallville High. So I love is that he asked around the school. That's why he was looking at her, is because he saw her on that one day of school, and he was asking around the school about her. But he always thought you were that mystery girl I never got to talk to. So it's like, it's cool that he got the opportunity to talk to her, and they kind of hit it off. But of course she left the party before he could get her number to even like ask her out on that date. But I think he's going to be a series regular this season, Spence Moore, and I'm actually really excited to see more of that. But also like on the front of what's going on, because I really want to talk about real quick like what was going on with Kyle and what was going on with Chrissy. They kind of had a moment where like Chrissy was kind of wanting to, I guess she was going to report a murder, which the murder of Mayor Dean. Yeah, Mayor Dean, like Mayor George, I think. Or yeah, Mayor George. There we go. But he's not mayor anymore, so George. So George pretty much died in this episode, and he died by that one creature that kind of has a flower for a face. Somebody told me the name of the name of this villain, which I can't remember I couldn't pronounce it for the life of me, but like I guess it's a Green Arrow villain. But as far as I can tell, like it is a girl, and by the voice, even though it has a modulator, it is a girl. And from what my standpoint is that from what I can tell from her powers is that she has like I guess sound manipulation, because she's able to like make like different sound noises. So it's pretty cool, and like in like the face changes and stuff to like to make different sounds. And I'm really loving it, and I love how like kind of like that is Bruno Mannheim's kind of like Bruno Mannheim's muscle, while he's not getting his hands dirty, and that's why I guess Clark and Lois have never been able to like make anything stick against him, is because he doesn't get his hands dirty. And his point, and from where he is in Metropolis, like his part of Metropolis, people think of him as a hero, and that's kind of like what, you know, is kind of like what they're dealing with in this episode of Lois and, you know, Clark, is what they're dealing with, is that they're trying to get information on how Henry Miller got out of prison. And it all goes back to, you know, I guess they end up finding out that, I guess, was it Judge Reagan is the one that let out, you know, Henry Miller. And they're pretty much in this episode is that, you know, Lois goes to go talk to, you know, I guess Lois, you know, I guess Clark and, you know, Lois both go talk to, you know, Judge Reagan. But of course they end up finding out that, you know, Bruno Mannheim pretty much in a way forced Judge Reagan to let out Henry Miller. But like I said, they can't make anything stick right now. So pretty much that's what's going on at the beginning of the season. I think that's going to keep going on, and them like trying to take down Bruno Mannheim until probably we get Lex Luthor in the season, because I know that we are getting Lex eventually in the season. I think he's going to be the main villain. And I'm thinking I don't think Bruno Mannheim is connected to Lex, because he was talking about how Lex and how Edge got rich while his part of Metropolis kind of, they all lost hope in suicide slums, and he had to deal with his people dying in his part of Metropolis. And like he, you know, and the people of his part of Metropolis think of him as a hero. While, you know, he was telling, you know, Superman, because, you know, Clark has to end up following the dudes that end up coming into Judge Reagan's office, and Lois wants Clark to follow, you know, kind of Bruno Mannheim's goons, and that kind of leads him back to Bruno Mannheim, and that's when Clark initially knows that Bruno Mannheim is behind all of this. And pretty much he kind of sends a threat to Superman's way, saying like, oh, you know, Lois Lane keeps sticking her nose in places that, you know, and where she shouldn't be, or nose in places that she shouldn't be. And, you know, I feel like that was kind of like a threat towards him, because he knows, of course, that like Superman's, you know, pretty much, you know, fan reporter, of course, or, you know, like his main reporter is Lois Lane. So I feel like that was kind of a big threat towards him, and I'll kind of like elaborate more to why I think that like his involvement in what's going to happen in the next episode, because we know that's like, I think, you know, Lois is kind of in danger in the next episode, and I can't wait to actually talk about what I think is going to happen then. But yeah, honestly, I feel like, you know, it was just, it's very interesting. I'm really liking this villain of Bruno Mannheim. You know what I mean? I'm really getting. I like how he thinks of himself as a hero, and he knows that, to Metropolis you're the hero, but in my part of Metropolis I'm the hero. And I like that. He's kind of feels like, in a way, he's like, in a way, like a god. In a way, he's like, you're a hero on your side, and I'm a hero on my side. That's why no matter what you do, or what Lois Lane does, you guys can never make anything stick on me, because I'm a hero. And no matter what you guys do that make me sound like I'm a villain, my people think I'm a hero. I like how he's that villain. I'm really enjoying that. And I know that kind of like, it's like, it went around, I guess, in Metropolis, or I guess like Lois made it go around saying that he was in charge of the Intergang. And I'm really happy, because he's like, oh, like Lois tries to keep making it sound like I'm a part of the Intergang, trying to make that stick, when it's like there is no proof that I'm a part of the Intergang. And I found out the Intergang apparently, is like in works with Darkseid, and I don't know if we're gonna get Darkseid eventually. I think that'd be really cool, but like that's what that's what I found out through one of my subs that watched the video, and shout out to you, man, because you let me know about that. But I find that really cool that he is. I'm pretty sure his dealings too with like him trying to like him giving the powers to Henry Miller. I feel like is that a part of the inner gang stuff that he's a part of, probably, but I just really enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed that he wasn't afraid to like talk back to Superman and kind of like tell Superman to get out and say never come back to my place. I like how he's not afraid of Superman. I really am enjoying this villain, but I don't know if that one creature lady that's has the flower face that's Green Arrow's villain. I don't know if she is in charge of him, like Bruno Mannheim works for her, or she works for Bruno Mannheim. I'm not quite sure, but I did like how like before George died, I did like how like he called Lana to tell Lana like about like I guess like like the money, or like he tried to say something like I forget. He tried to like warn Lana about like something before he died. It was about like it's for the good of Smallville or something like that. And it's because in the mayor's office there's something that says in the good of Smallville, and there was a flash drive in there. And right away when like George died on the phone and that one person that killed George saw that said Lana Lang on it, I knew right away that that person was going to go after Lana next, because whatever, I guess they were like, I guess they knew maybe whatever whatever like Mayor George knew, like I guess whatever they were after that Mayor George knew about, they knew that I guess George would tell Lana about where this thing was, because I guess it was information maybe that would lead back to Bruno Mannheim. And I feel like this person is Bruno Mannheim's kind of like it kind of like makes it so Mannheim doesn't have any like I guess deaths on his hands, kind of makes it so like there's nothing like no evidence to stick on him. I feel like that's what this person is, like this person works for him as kind of like his muscle, and I really do like that. And it was really cool because while that whole sequence like where like the person was able to like use that like voice power and kind of like shatter the glass in Lana's like mayor's office, while like John Henry was there with her, which I thought was I called it, saying that like John and Lana are gonna get together, because I saw that in the first episode when they were talking, when Kyle saw them talking. I speculated that they would get together this season. I do think so, because they were kind of talking kind of how they started, like how like she met up with with John in this episode is because I guess when she went to go, I can't remember what happened. Like I guess she said that she was going over to Natalie's place to watch movies. And then that's when, John's like, oh no, they went out to Metropolis to a party. And then that's when Lana's like, oh, like I need, Sarah to come back now, because Sarah, I guess she wanted to tell Sarah about how George died. And I guess Sarah and George were close, or George was close to Sarah, Mayor George, which I don't know how he was close to Sarah, but I guess he was close to Sarah, and she wanted to break the news to Sarah, saying like, oh, I need her to come back here right now, when it's like John, like what do you want John to do? Like go pick up Sarah and go pick up Natalie from a party? Like it's like, no, like you like he said where they were. If you want to go get Sarah, or call Sarah to come back. Like I don't know why you're going to John all upset saying, oh, I need her to come back here right now. But I loved how he was able to kind of like talk to her, and she was finally able to like settle down, because it's like Lana's been doing nothing but mayor stuff, so it was nice for her to have a moment where she just got to eat dinner, and kind of, have a relaxing moment for a minute, and kind of, from parent to parent. I thought that was really cool that they could communicate about something, about how like she's like, oh, like I was been so busy I didn't catch that Sarah lied to me, and kind of like and seeing like I forget what he said to her, like, oh, it's not your fault that you've been busy, it's okay, or she was like, or she, I guess she's kind of like, I guess she's kind of not even that, I guess she's kind of like, she's still like shook up about being on the phone with George when he died, and kind of like he's like, anybody would be shook up, Lana, like anybody in your position, you have a right to kind of be like shook up about that, you know what I mean, that you kind of heard him die, and I can imagine that was like traumatizing for you. So I liked how he was there for her and kind of there to talk her through what happens and kind of like help her find the clue with the flash drive that we still don't know what was on the flash drive, but I definitely think it's connected to Bruno Mannheim and probably Mayor Dean's probably connection of all that money that he told Lana not to like use is probably connected to Bruno Mannheim most likely. And I bet you that drive would have connected Bruno and where the money came from Bruno, and he probably didn't want people to find out about that because he always there is no evidence to always put on him to put him in prison. And they specified that back in the last week's episode, Lois and Clark, when they were talking about it, saying like there is no evidence, that's why we can never put Bruno Mannheim away, because there's always never any evidence that we can stick on him. So I do like how he always has people to kind of like, get rid of evidence so to not have things put on him. He just seems like a really good villain, and I'm really excited to see more of what they're going to do with him. But at the party, I really did enjoy how like, how like Sarah and, Jordan kind of got on terms of like, oh, like, let's just be friends or whatever. Like, let's just like, I'm usually can't be friends with my ex-boyfriends, Jordan. I want to be friends with you. And you know what I mean? And I'm glad that they were able to like sort that out and be friends. I'm wondering if Jordan will eventually like maybe find a new love interest. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. Because I honestly don't mind if them just being, friends and he ends up finding like another love interest down the line. I don't know if that's what's gonna end up happening or not. But, I like how they were kind of like, they were doing beer pong, but they weren't drinking. But, they wanted to like kind of like get some Metropolis kids money. They wanted to like play a game and try to get some, while they were there to have fun. They're like, what do we do to have fun? She's like, why don't we like, take some Metropolis kids money and stuff like that in a game of, beer pong. And even though they weren't drinking, it's like, that's pure genius because you're not drinking. So while they're getting drunk while you're making shots on them, it's going to be harder for them to make shots on you. So it's like, literally, it's like taking candy from a baby. It's like funny as hell. So I was glad they were able to have fun at the party together. From how the start from the start of the episode where she didn't want to be around Jordan and wanted to just have a girls' night. I'm glad that out of all of that, she was her and Jordan were finally able to get on the same ground, and they were both able to have fun at this party. While Jonathan, I felt bad while Jordan was looking at Jonathan as looking at him like, oh, like, you're able to like be friends with your ex-girlfriend while also being able to find a new girlfriend. That's not the case in Jonathan's behalf. While he thought, Eliza was just, like him and Eliza were just cool being friends, and and Eliza invited him to the party just as friends. It's like, no, Eliza wanted to get back with Jonathan in this episode, this was the first time we saw Eliza, so it was pretty cool seeing Eliza. But like, she wanted to get back with Jonathan, but I was like, oh my god, you're with Candace, bro. Like, this can't happen. I was a little worried, like, is Jonathan actually going to be loyal to Candace, or is he going to like want to get back together with why am I forgetting the girl's name? With Eliza, like, is he like, what's gonna happen here? And I saw it right when Eliza gave like Jonathan like I can't tell if it was like a bracelet or a necklace. I couldn't even tell. But I knew right then and there, she's like, oh, I have another surprise for you. I was like, oh my god, bro, like, she still likes you. She's trying to get with you, man. And I'm glad he's like, oh, we can't do this or whatever. Like, I have a girlfriend, like, back at Smallville. I can't do this. Like, And she's like, oh, like, I thought that's why you came out here, and that's why you've been talking to me all like, for the past week, is because you wanted to get back together with me. And she's like, we don't have to tell anybody. And he's like, I can't do this. I'm sorry. And you know what I mean? It's sad because it's like, he really thought that, like, he was kind of being the model, like, for his brother, saying that you can be friends with your ex-girlfriend while also having a girlfriend. But that's not the case. And I feel like he kind of felt bad that he kind of like thought that way. Like, oh, damn, I thought it was like being a good model for my brother. Saying like, you can be friends with Sarah, but you don't have to pine for her, and you can find somebody else while being friends with your ex-girlfriend. So I kind of felt bad for Jonathan, but I was kind of like, I was glad that they kind of got over it. And they were just like having fun at the fact of, with the beer pong with Sarah and Jordan, with the one jerk that, he ran with, where Jordan ran into earlier and kind of spilled that one dude's drink in Metropolis at that party. Because, while he saw Sarah, he's like, oh shit, like, he tried turning around and like bumped into a dude and spilled and made the dude made the dude's drink spill on him. And also, like, it spilled on, Jordan. Sarah lended Jordan, her, flannel. And of course, when they won the game against those Metropolis dudes, that's when, they got on Jordan saying, oh, go get me a beer, bitch, or whatever, or go be my beer, bitch, or whatever. And I love how Sarah was backing up Jordan saying, go get your own damn beer, dude, or whatever. You mean like you're being a jerk or whatever. And I love when she's like, oh, you want a beer? And she said, here's your beer, bitch. I love that. That was, for me, not like putting up with Sarah and about me being annoyed with Sarah, being like, oh, like, making, mainly it's because Jordan is pining over Sarah when it's like you told Sarah why you weren't there for, like, why you couldn't be there for her all the time, because you were training and about how to control your powers, and you were kind of trying to like train to save the world. If that's not enough, I think that's why I'm so upset at Sarah, because it's like, I don't want Jordan pining for a girl that doesn't want to be with him for a clear, even though he told her the clear reason why he wasn't able to be there with her 24/7. So it's like, I feel like maybe that's why I'm all upset at Sarah, but it's like, but in that moment I was like, that's funny as shit when she's like, here's your beer, bitch. So I was like, I liked that moment. But the pretty much the crucial part of this episode, Superman is talking to Bruno Mannheim, that Mayor Reagan lady, I guess someone told her kind of, I guess she got like, I don't know if she was forced to want to jump off the building, or at this point she's like, oh my God, like, what have I done? Letting out, was it Henry Miller? And kind of like, I found out the system is rigged, and I kind of feel guilty for what I did because of, because of Henry Miller getting powers and him causing mayhem around Metropolis. I didn't know why she wanted to jump off the building, except I'm thinking that's the reason why she feels guilty about everything that's happened, and feeling guilty that, she found out the system is kind of rigged, and that she has to, like, be in that position where, like, there are powerful people that are going to force her to do things, even though she wanted to be judged to do good things. I did like how, like, Lois was able to talk her off the building, but it was the point where, like, she ended up saying that she had cancer, and Clark was right there as Superman. He was just right there, and my heart just sank when Lois said that. That was the most upsetting thing to hear, because Lois was acting, sad at the beginning of this episode, like mainly through the entire episode, and I felt like maybe she just was, upset at the fact that it was a false alarm about having another baby, and she really wanted to have another baby. But it's the fact of, she not only had to hear from Dr. Irons that, oh, it's a false alarm, you're not having a baby, let's do a couple more tests to see what's going on, to then find out that she has stage 3 inflammatory breast cancer. And like I said, my heart dropped when she said, I have cancer, to get Judge Reagan off the ledge, saying, I know what you're going through, I'm kind of going through it right now too, where I feel like all hope is lost because I have cancer. I can't believe they did that, because I even said in last week's review, I'm worried about Lois's test, because if it's like it is a false alarm about her having, about her being pregnant, I'm worried that what if, she has something and, they're going to kill her off the show. I was worried that it was going to be cancer. I was worried. I was like, oh no, I was like, I can't imagine they would do that. And then, they would kill her off the show because it's called Superman and Lois. But like, I have a feeling that they might do it. I don't think that they will. I hope they won't. But this show, man, I don't know, because, from what my understanding is that I think that I don't know if this will be the last season of Superman and Lois, because I know that James Gunn said that I think there will be 2 more seasons of Superman and Lois, or 1 more season of Superman and Lois, and I'm confused. I don't know if it'll just be this season and maybe 1 more season, or maybe this will be the final season. I don't know, but I am worried that, oh my God, are they going to kill off Lois? Because it's stage 3, and kind of, at that moment, like, Clark was able, like, when Judge, Reagan got down, and, Clark hugged her, I couldn't, his face when she said that, it's so sad, man. It's like, I can't believe that. That was my worst fear, that they were going to do that, and they're doing it. I was really hoping it wasn't that, and I'm worried now, because it's like, this flips everything upside down, especially for, like, the family, because I was worried. I was like, oh, after this nice day with, with Jonathan and Jordan and Sarah and Natalie, it's kind of like they're going to end it off knowing that, like, Lois is going to tell them that she has stage 3 inflammatory breast cancer. I was like, oh my God, like, and instantly, right when they couldn't hear any more sound at that moment, because I was like, I love how they did that, like, how when she told them, instantly, like, you could not hear what they were saying from, like, Jordan and Jonathan's perspective, because it's like, at that moment, it's like, it's not real. It doesn't feel real. And I was like, if I heard that, I think, honestly, I would go into, like, this can't be real. And I love how I was like, you could see that on their face, and you could feel from that perspective of them not hearing anything past that. It's like, at that moment, they're like, this can't be real. This isn't real. Like, wake me up. This must be a nightmare. This can't be real. And just, that was sad. That was sad. Off of a good day, that's why Lois was upset the entire time in this episode. It isn't because the fact of, she moved past the fact of, oh, like, in the mean, it's a false alarm. I know that, our house is big enough, our you know what I mean, our house is, or we're already busy enough, or we already have, like, everything that we need right here, to the fact of, no, it's because, she didn't want things to change, and she didn't want Clark to look at her any differently, and didn't want Clark to look at her like, that she was like, she didn't want Clark to look at her any differently. And Clark, I love when he said, "You're the strongest person I know. I won't look at you any other in any other way than you being the strongest person I know." And I even said that, like, before he said that, because I was like, Lois is the strongest person. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I loved how he said that. Like, I'm not gonna look at you any differently. You're the strongest person I know. But, like, that was still sad to hear that my theory was correct. I can't like process that. It was something I did not want to happen. I was like, I hope that's not what's gonna happen. But now it begs the question, is like, oh my God, are they going to kill off Lois this season? Are they gonna do this? I was like, I still don't think, I don't think they will, but it begs the question of, like, would they go there? That's where I want you guys to come in. Like, do you guys think that she will die this season, or do you guys think that, like, there will be some miracle, some hope that she will survive this? Because I keep going to the fact that it is stage 3, and it apparently is very aggressive inflammatory breast cancer. So I'm like, I don't know what's going to end up happening. And it's like, when the test started happening in the beginning of the episode, and, she was, like, looking at her chest, I was like, oh my God, I should have, like, picked up on it, but I didn't until when she said she had cancer. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that's why she's been, that's why she's been acting different since the beginning of this episode. It wasn't, and it was clever on them to be like, oh, we think it's because, it's the fact that, she's upset about the false alarm about the baby, but it's the fact that, no, she has that, and that's why she kind of, has been acting different, and is kind of like, because she doesn't want things to change, so she's kind of like trying her best to kind of like make things she's kind of trying her best to have things, like, to make it look like she's being normal, but it's like, no, she's like, it's hard because she's like, it's so surreal for her that this is happening. So I don't know. Overall, phenomenal episode. I really enjoyed this episode, but I'm just sad that, like, that's what's happening with Lois, and it's going to be very interesting the rest of the season to see what happens, and to see if she will, survive this. I don't know, and get past this. We'll have to just wait and see. I feel like because she is strong, Lois, I feel like she will get past it because she's so strong, and she has everybody there with her to be by her side. But I feel like also going into next week's episode, which we'll talk about, like, right now. So I'm gonna play actually the promo for next week's episode, which I'm actually gonna pull it up right here, my internet tab, and we're actually gonna watch the promo, which I don't know why that's not going. Why isn't it going? Okay, let me back out of here. There we go. All right, so we're going to play the promo for next week's episode, and we're going to talk about, like, kind of like my theory I got going on. So I'm going to put my headphones on, and we're going to jump right into this real quick. This is the promo for episode 3 of Superman and Lois.
The best way to get through this is going to be as a team, and that means me and you.
My priority is to get better and take down Bruno, man.
That is not how priorities work.
I'm really worried about it.
Me too.
This is the story of a lifetime.
Okay. So with that, So with that right there, and I'm actually gonna like head back, if I can even head back to that thing right there. Let me head back to this real quick. That right there is like, I'm thinking because of the threat that Bruno Mannheim made about, oh, like Lois is always trying to make me, make me out to be the villain, when here on this side of Metropolis I'm gonna always be the hero. I feel like, and he knows that Lois is kind of, is investigating him again, is, you know what I mean? So like, I don't know, it's like, I'm thinking to myself, where in next week's episode, where it looks like something happens in Metropolis, it looks like the Daily Planet is gonna like be destroyed from the looks of it, from like the Daily Planet, like, globe falling off the building. I feel like that is due to the creature, like I said, that works for Bruno Mannheim and likes covering up Bruno Mannheim's tracks. I feel like Lois, from the perspective, is like Clark and everybody might think that, I don't know if they're gonna think that she's dead, but I remember from the trailer when Sam said, how could you lose Lois? How could you lose my daughter? I'm thinking it's at that moment where, like, maybe they think that she's dead. I can't imagine they think that she's dead, but I think they're going to think that she's just, like, missing. Like, where did she go? I think Bruno Mannheim is going to, like, or that one creature, or Bruno Mannheim wants her and sending out that one creature to get Lois. I have a feeling, like, I don't know if they're going to do this, but I feel like they're going to, like, he's going to capture her and probably try to do experiments on her. I don't know. That's just, like, kind of like a long shot theory I got going on. Because I feel like, I don't know if Clark's going to be able to save her. I don't know. And I feel like that would really flip everything upside down for us and really guess, like, holy shit, like, where is Lois? Like, maybe we won't get that answer until maybe for the rest of the season of, like, oh my god, like, where'd Lois go? Or maybe for at least a couple of episodes until we get, like, towards, like, kind of, like, in a way, like, towards the end of the episode where, like, we end up finding out what happened to Lois. But that would just be very interesting if they go that route this season after what we just found out about Lois, having cancer. That would be like, holy shit, like, where's Lois? Like, oh my god, like, it would just be very interesting if they go that route, because as we saw, Lois told Chrissy that her first priority is stopping Bruno Mannheim. She's like, that's not how priorities work. That would really be like, also make everybody feel guilty in the fact of we should have stopped Lois from, we should have stopped Lois from, from pursuing, Bruno Mannheim. We should have stopped her and tried to, make her focus on, making it through, her breast cancer. Like, we should have, made it where, like, she was trying to recover and not trying to go after Bruno Mannheim and trying to make that her first priority. I feel like they'll all kind of be, like, all, like, upset at each other. They'll all kind of be upset that they didn't, like, stop Lois from doing that, because it's like they don't know if she's, like, alive or dead or whatever. So I just feel like that would really be interesting if they go that route. I just don't know if that's what they're going to do. So I'm really curious to know down in the comments below, like, what do you guys think that they're going to do in the next episode? Do you guys think that, Clark will be able to save Lois before the Daily Planet, like, falls? And do you guys think that the Daily Planet will be totally destroyed? I'm thinking the Daily Planet is going to be, like, totally destroyed. That would be very interesting if they do that too, because it really shows that Bruno Mannheim is not messing around and is kind of taking out anything that's kind of can go against him, and he has a powered person to do it. And that clearly, by the fact that it looks like it's kind of like crumbling, I do think it's because of that, like, kind of like how that person's able to, like, that creature is able to, like, manipulate sound waves. So I do feel like that's the reason that, like, Metropolis is kind of, like, having this big disaster, is because of this one, creature. I really enjoyed this episode. I'm excited for next week's episode. I definitely think this episode was a lot better. And yeah, I'm really curious to know, like, what did you guys think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you guys think it was better than the first episode of the season? Let me know your theories for going into next week's episode. And yeah, guys, yet again here, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put on those notifications, like this video. I'd love to have you guys here, a part of the fam, a part of the channel. We're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. Yet again, guys, we're almost to 700 subscribers. That is the goal, to hit 700 subscribers. My initial goal at the end of this year is to hit 1,000 subscribers to get monetized. So yet again, I would love for you guys to join the channel, to join the fam. But like I said, guys, that was the video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.